So the problem that most beginners have when they're just getting started with an online business to sell digital info products is that they're starting out with strategies of six-figure earners. And why is this a problem? Because these six-figure earners are so much ahead of you. They have teams, they have huge audiences, they have massive portfolios of digital products that it makes it easy for them to achieve these six-figure goals. But when you're just getting started at zero, you will find it very hard to get to the level of six-figure earners because you won't have the resources that they have access to unless you're willing to invest a significant amount of money and time in your business. So what can you do instead? Well, I made the mistake of taking advice from a six-figure earner when I started my digital product business and wasted 6 years chasing after this elusive six-figure dream. And if I had these 5 pieces of advice that I'm going to give you right now, I know that I would be in a much better position than where I am right now. So I'm going to share with you 5 super important things you need to know to make your first few online digital product sales. Hey guys, my name is Dawn Marie and I'm here on YouTube and I'm documenting my own journey of starting a digital product business from scratch, and I want to take you along with me and show you behind the scenes of what that looks like. I'm also sharing what's working for me that maybe you can try in your own business to sell your own digital info products. Plus, I'm breaking down my marketing strategies and giving you helpful tips and ideas. So if you'd like to join with me, then I hope you'll stick around. Give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel. Now let's get into the video. And if you're a beginner, or if you've been trying to sell digital products and make your first $1,000 in sales, then the very first thing that you need to know, and in fact is the advice that I wished I had, is to keep your goals realistic and incremental. Now, for the longest while, I have been chasing after the elusive six-figure dream for the past 6 years and have only fallen flat on my face. I mean, I've had these massive goals thinking that if other six-figure earners could do it, then of course I could do it too. But what that problem is, the problem with that mindset is that I was trying to follow in the footsteps of people who were so much further ahead of me, and I thought that I could achieve the same success just as quickly in the time frame that they told me that I could. But here's the thing, when I didn't hit those goals, it really hit me hard. I felt like a failure, and honestly, it really sucked the motivation right out of me. So I started questioning whether I was cut out for this, whether I was good enough, and there were times when I wanted to give up. I mean, especially when I wasn't able to see the results that I wanted. So looking back, I realize now that that was the biggest thing that was holding me back. And you might actually be in the same position yourself. I was so focused on these huge, shiny goals that I didn't stop to think about where I actually was in my own journey, right? So I was trying to skip these steps. I was aiming for the same results as people who had much more experience than I had, who had massive audiences and possibly a team behind them. But the truth is, whilst those big goals seemed attractive, they were completely unattainable for someone like me at the stage that I was in. So I was on a completely different journey from them. So if you can relate to what I'm saying, then here's my advice. Start with realistic and incremental goals. If you're just beginning, focus on making maybe your first $1,000 or even your first $100 or $500 in digital product sales. I mean, it might not sound flashy as 100,000, but trust me, the first $1,500 or $100 will teach you even more what it's like to succeed online than chasing after six figures ever will. And each small win will definitely build your confidence, your skills, and even your understanding of what works for you and your audience. And then once you hit your first $1,000, you'll at least have the foundation you need to scale up to those bigger goals, but you'll do it from a place of experience and knowledge instead of frustration and burnout, which is where I was at. So now that we've talked about setting realistic goals, let's move on to the next thing that you need to know that could make or break your journey to making your first $1,000 in digital product sales. Now, you might hear people say that to be successful online, you need to be everywhere at once. So that might be Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Pinterest, TikTok, whatever it is. But here's the truth. When you're just getting started, trying to be everywhere at once is definitely a fast track to burnout and overwhelm. I mean, I learned this the hard way when I first started blogging back in 2016. I mean, there was so much noise in the industry telling everyone that I needed to be on every platform to get noticed. And it was very overwhelming. And honestly, I didn't even know where to start. But then I got one piece of advice that really stuck with me. And that is, you don't need to be everywhere. You just need to pick one channel, master it, and then expand. So that's exactly what I did. Instead of spreading myself thin trying to do everything, I just chose one platform, and that was Pinterest. And I dedicated my time to learning everything I could about Pinterest. That is, how to create pins that people would click on, how to drive traffic from Pinterest to my blog, and how to grow my audience on that one platform. And guess what? That actually worked, because by focusing on just Pinterest, I was able to grow my blog to over 10,000 readers a month. And it was how I sold my very first ebook to generate over $2,000 in sales. And that was huge for me. And it's the same thing that I'm doing right now here on YouTube. I'm just focused my energy on mastering YouTube. I'm not trying to be a social media superstar on every channel, and I'm really laser focused to learn everything that I can about YouTube, about creating content that resonates with my audience, about growing my audience. And once I feel confident, then I might consider expanding to another platform. Who knows? I mean, that might be Instagram, it might be TikTok. But for now, all I want to learn is about YouTube. So here's my advice. Don't fall into the trap of thinking that you need to be everywhere. It's better to be amazing at one thing rather than mediocre at a bunch of things. So pick one platform that aligns with your strengths and where you think your audience is likely to be, then master it, build your audience there, and then once you've got that down, then you can think about expanding to other channels. So we've covered the importance of focusing on one channel at a time. I want to dive into something that's just as crucial, and that is building an audience before you even think about selling digital products. Now, I get it. You might be excited to start making money, and that's totally understandable. But if you don't have an audience, who's going to buy your products, right? So one of the biggest lessons I learned on my journey to making my first $1,000 in digital product sales was that building an audience needs to come first. So when I decided to start a digital product business, I knew that before I could sell anything, I needed people who were actually interested in what I had to offer. So I started on YouTube. My only goal at that point was to attract an audience, and that's it. So I wasn't thinking about sales yet. I was just thinking about creating content that would bring the right people to my channel. I really focused on making YouTube videos that provided value, and slowly but surely my subscriber base started to grow. But I didn't stop there. I knew that having subscribers on YouTube was great, but I needed a way to connect with them more directly. So I created a way for them to join my email list. I offered them something for free. It was my 10-day action plan to launching and selling digital products, which you can actually check out in the description box below. And I gave that to them in exchange for their email address. And then once I started growing my email list, I finally introduced a few of my digital products to those subscribers. And that's exactly how I got my first $1,000 in digital product sales. Just by focusing on building an audience first, I didn't just have people to sell to, but I had a group of people who were already interested in what I had to offer. And if you don't know how to build an email list, let me know in the comments section below whether you want me to create a video on that topic. So here's what you need to know. Before you even start thinking about sales, focus on building an audience. There are so many platforms that you can use to do this. There's YouTube, there's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, even paid ads if you have the budget for it. You can also collaborate with others in your niche to reach a wider audience. So for me, it was YouTube that laid the foundation, and once I had a solid base there, I started to introduce collaborations with other creators to expand my reach even further. But no matter which platform you are on, the key is to create content that attracts the right people and then build a relationship with them, right? So that's where your email list comes in. It's one of the most powerful tools that you could have that allows you to communicate directly with your audience, to nurture those relationships and eventually introduce your digital products when the time is right. So if you're serious about building an audience and making your first $1,000 in digital product sales, I have something that I can help. I've put together a 10-day action plan to launching and selling digital products, and it includes 28 different ways that you can start growing your own audience and building your email list. So you can test out these strategies and find what works for you. So the link to access the action plan is in the description box below, so make sure you check that out. All right, so we've covered the importance of building an audience before you start thinking about selling your digital products. But once you have that audience, what's next? So the key is to build digital products that people actually want and tell you that they want. So I think that this can make all the difference when you're trying to hit those first $1,000 in sales. I mean, one of the biggest mistakes that you can make as a beginner is creating products based on what you think people want rather than what they're actually asking for. It's tempting to follow your own ideas and assume that they will be a hit, but the reality is your audience will much more likely buy if they feel that the product was specifically made for them. Now, here's something that you probably can relate to. When I first started, my audience was pretty small. So I needed to build products that people actually wanted, but when I asked for feedback, I wasn't getting much of a response. So I'd put out surveys, I'd ask questions, and only really a handful of people would reply. And it was tough because I wanted to create something that my entire audience would love, but the feedback just wasn't enough to make major decisions on it. So I decided to take a completely different approach. So instead of waiting for my audience to tell me exactly what they wanted, I created and tested multiple products. Then I'd put out different offers, maybe an ebook, a workshop, or a set of templates, and see which one got the best response. It was a bit of a trial and error, but it really helped me figure out what resonated with my audience. And as my audience grew, so did my feedback. So eventually I reached a point where I could actually ask them directly what they needed and they would tell me what they needed. And that made it much more easier to create products that I knew would sell. But I didn't let the lack of initial feedback stop me from getting started. So testing different products early on really helped me understand what worked and what didn't. So here's what I want you to take away from this. Yes, you'll get to $1,000 faster if you build digital products that your audience is actually telling you that they want. But if your audience is small and you're not getting that much feedback, don't feel stuck. Try creating and testing different types of products to see what clicks with them. Pitch these offers to your audience, even if it's small, and use the results to guide your next steps. So remember, you don't need a massive audience to start making sales. I made my first $2,000 in ebook sales from an audience of 200 subscribers. So you just need to pay attention to what's working and adjust as you go. And over time, as your audience grows and you start getting feedback, you'll be able to fine-tune your digital products to match their needs even more closely. Okay, so the last thing that you need to know to hit your first $1,000 in digital product sales, and it's something that I've touched on before, and that is testing multiple products to validate them, right? So here's a common mistake that I see a lot of beginners make. They create one product, fall in love with that one product, and then cross their fingers hoping it would sell. But when it doesn't, they get discouraged and think that their audience just isn't buying. So the truth is, this mindset can really hold you back from the amazing possibilities that exist with your audience you've worked so hard to build. I mean, I've been there myself. Early on, I remember creating a product that I was absolutely convinced would be a hit. I put so much time and effort into it, and when it didn't sell the way that I expected, I was really crushed. But instead of giving up and blaming my audience, I realized something important. That building a successful digital product business is really all about testing and seeing what works. And that's when I decided to shift my approach. So instead of pouring everything into just one product, I started creating and testing multiple products. I would put different offers to my audience, just very simple products that I could create in a week. And I really paid attention to what resonated with them. It wasn't just a one-time thing. It really became a mindset. And I told myself that if one product doesn't sell, that's okay, right? I can create another product and test it. And this approach not only helped me make my first $1,000, but it did give me a much clearer understanding of what my audience truly wanted. And my long-term goal is to build a portfolio of over 100 digital products and test them all on my audience. So I know that not every digital product is going to be a winner, and that's completely okay for me. The key here is to keep experimenting, keep testing, and most importantly, don't get too attached to one product. It's really all about finding out what works, and the only way to do that is by trying different things. So here's my final piece of advice. Don't stop at your first product. If it doesn't sell, that doesn't mean that your audience isn't a buying audience. It just means that that particular product wasn't the right fit. So the beauty of digital products is that you can always create more, and you can create them fast, right? And with each new product, you're gathering valuable data about what your audience likes and needs. So make testing a regular part of your strategy. Create different types of products, whether it's ebooks, courses, templates, or something else entirely, and see what resonates. If something doesn't work, learn from it and move on to the next idea. So this mindset will not only help you reach that first $1,000, but it will also pave the way for long-term success. All right, so there you have it. Those are the 5 things that you need to know to make your first $1,000 in digital product sales. Remember to keep your goals realistic and incremental. Focus on mastering one channel before expanding. Build an audience before you start selling. Create your digital products that your audience actually wants, and don't be afraid to test multiple products to find out what works. If you're ready to take action and start your journey, also don't forget my 10-day action plan to launching and selling digital products, where I've broken down everything you need to do to put together your offer, sell, and fulfill it in just 10 days. So the link to that is in the description box below. And before you go, make sure to like this video, leave a comment with your biggest takeaway from this video, and subscribe to the channel. Your support really helps this video reach more beginners like you, so they can learn what it takes to hit their first $1,000 in digital product sales. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye now.